Hey, all back in the garage. Time for a little more reassembly. Picked up transmission yesterday, so let's take a look at that, see what we got, and see what else we're gonna do.
No, you're not bringing home another piece of junk.
Alright, so I picked this transmission up. This is actually, I had to make a little bit of a road trip for it. This was down in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, which is a little over 2 hours from my house, but really good deal. This guy down there has a Corvette restoration business, and I'll tell you what, he has got some beautiful cars. Mostly, back from the 50s up to, like, I guess that'd be the C3, up to about 82. But in a warehouse full of parts, he sells all over the country on eBay, and he put this on Marketplace, and this is actually the factory transmission out of a 65 327 Corvette, and I think he said he was restoring it for a customer, and the guy didn't want the 3-speed. He wanted to move up to a 4-speed, but fairly, dirty, but fairly low mileage unit. All the gears look good. Everything's smooth in it. I'm just going to clean it out a little bit. This actually had factory provision for a 3-speed floor shift on it, which I thought was kind of cool, cast into the tail. So this one is a little longer than my old one, but I think, let's take a little measurement here. I think the tail shaft mounting pad is in the same place, so that's about 14 inches. Let's see what this one is. Yeah, so the mounting pad's in the same spot, but we're a little longer, so what we got there, about 3 inches to the end of that, and then I'm going to measure that off of here, about 7.5. So we're about 4 inches longer, but I've got 2 drive shafts for this thing. One of them is the original drive shaft for the 3-speed. The other one is the drive shaft that actually came out of this car, had a power glide in it, and Bill had a Turbo 350 in it. I think they were the same length. So if you look at these two, the longer one would be the one for the shorter transmission. So the question is, how much longer do I got to get something cut? So if we line up these carrier bearings, see, the rear shaft is the same. It's the front shaft that's a little shorter. So let's see how much shorter. About 4 inches. So I'm thinking that I'm going to be okay just using that shorter drive shaft, and which is okay because it looks like it's in a little better shape. I actually bought a new carrier bearing and new U-joints for it that I'm going to press in there. A low amount of money. Figure it's just a good, safe thing to do while we got it out. But it looks like that's going to fit without having to take anything to the shop and get it cut. I do need to look at the shift plates and see about that. So this is the shift plate for the vent transmission, and this is where we're going to be a little bit different, but may be able to swap them. It's like, if you see this one, uses this type of shifting tab on there, and here's the one off the other transmission. So they look pretty close. This actually has these and then uses this type of arm that goes onto that shaft. But I'll tell you what, they look the same on the front. And they look the same on the back. So I think I should just be able to swap this one in once we get these cleaned up, and go back with these and retain all my original shift linkage. So looks like that's going to work. We'll see how it pans out, but I'm just going to kind of take off where I left off with the other transmission. I've got the gasket kit. We'll go ahead and clean this thing up. We'll change this seal, we'll change this gasket, we'll change these shaft seals. I mean, there is no evidence that this thing ever leaked. I don't know if I want to break that seal apart or not. I've got that gasket, but I don't think I do. You know, it looks fine, so I'm not going to mess with that gasket. I am going to pull the bell off of here because this little dude right here is an oil return, and sometimes you can get gunk clogged up in there, and it'll drip oil out of that front. So we'll pull this bell off, and I got a gasket for that, and just make sure that there's no hard oil or old goo in that oil return. So worked out good. 125 bucks, can't beat that. All right, so I'm gonna get to that this weekend. I'm just gonna bolt a few other things on here. I think we all saw where I left off the other day. You know, we got the dash in there and it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna start on some wiring here. I want to get just kind of get all the wiring laid out, figure out where it's gonna go, where we're gonna come through the firewall at. I'm not 100% sure on that. We got the hole bigger for the fuse box, so we'll go ahead and screw that in, and I don't know if I'm gonna do that first or not. So I gotta kind of wrap my brain around how we're gonna do this here. I ordered a proportioning valve for the rear brakes. It's not here yet. That's just one that pipes just into the rear brake line. So I'm not going to run those lines until that gets here. It looks like that's not going to be here until next week sometime. But okay, so in this video we're going to get the tranny done. We'll get it back in, and we'll get some other parts bolted on and stuff. Today, actually, which is Friday, my youngest son is getting married today, which is really cool. Marrying a very nice young woman who we're happy to welcome to the family. So mom and everybody is all off getting their hair done and the makeup and all that girl stuff, and so I got like 5 hours to myself at the house. So I thought, let's have a nice calming influence on myself today, and let's go out in the garage for a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna do until it's time to go. Okay, so I'm gonna do a few things here, and we will check back in a little bit. Okay, so this thing was a little dry inside. No rust or anything, but just hadn't had grease in it for a while, so I thought we better throw the cover back on and make sure this thing moved and everything was good. So I've been messing with it a little bit here. So I got both these in the center position. That's neutral. You can see that freewheels. And if I go back here, that's first. That's reverse. Go here. That's second, I believe, second or third. That's third. And all the bearings feel really smooth, so I think we're good. I went ahead and just squirted a little lube on them gears and spun it around, just kind of get things loosened up. Instead of been sitting a while. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and go drop by the gas station and pick up, you know, like a half a gallon of diesel or something. And I think I'm just going to fill this thing up, shake it around, and drain it out. And, just kind of dissolve any old oil or any crud that's in there. And then we'll go ahead and change the seal. Let's see, we got ordered this box of seals. Let's see what's in there. Hopefully everything's here. Good old Rock Auto. I buy just about everything from them unless it's something I just gotta have that day. Alright, so got these seals. These should be this is one of them. A little shaft seal. Hopefully they're right. Actually, they're going to go in this one. I don't know. I don't know if that's right or if that's an O-ring seal in there. We're going to take a look at that. This is the one they listed for it on their site. And there's another one in there. And you got a gasket kit. Actually, you got O-ring seals here, so that might be those. And then I got this case seal, which I'm not going to bust that case apart, but I am going to use this front seal and the side cover seal. Is good there. And then I've got a tail shaft seal. Let's see if this is the right one. That is not even close to being the right one. That might be a front seal. I think I'll order the front one. I'll have to look at a blow-up exploded version of this and see if there's a front seal on this thing. That's really good. Alright, so we got everything we need, plus probably a little bit more, but that's cool. So we'll clean this thing out. We'll change all those seals. Bolt the tail shaft mount on it. Like I said, I'm actually going to use this this side cover because it's got the right shifter arms on it. And I think we're going to be in good shape. And a little bit of Krylon rebuild, of course, probably. Okay, so I better hang it up for today. Go do my wedding duties, and tomorrow we'll pull this guy apart, change these seals, do all this other good stuff. Get that training ready to go in there. Also, just went through and cleaned up that accelerator pedal and got it where it's swinging nice and free. It was really sticky. Bolted it on, and then I'm looking at the steering box here. So these are AN6 fittings. I don't know if I want to use AN line on this or not. I'm kind of torn on that. It's neat stuff, but it's, you know, more expensive than the standard line. But I'm gonna have to make a line because really I just got to go a really short distance from there to there. And my return's here to here, and this has a mobile tank for filling on it. So I want to figure that out. So like I want that bolted up, figured out. Obviously get the belt on it, have the drive shaft transmission in it. I want all that stuff before I try to start this thing. I think I am going to try to fire it before I put the front clip on it, because I just want to hear it, see it's got good oil pressure, and just run it for a minute, make sure everything's good before I bolt this whole front clip on. And then we'll get the radiator in it, we'll do the cam brake in and all that good stuff. So that's kind of where we're going. Okay, so that's it for today. We'll pick this up tomorrow. My son Jordan's getting married tonight, so say a prayer for him and his new wife Jen, that they'll have a blessed marriage, and we'll catch you in a bit. Alright, so I thought I'd show a little bit of what's going on here. So this is the side cover off of the original transmission, which I'm going to use. And like I said, because of the the shift shafts are the right ones for that linkage. So basically what there is to do in here is this O-ring, I went ahead and changed those. So you just pull these dudes out of here, clean that shaft up good. You know, I had a lot of goo and kind of rust on it. Change that O-ring that came with the kit, put a little grease on it. We're going to drive it back in there. And you got this little spring here that hooks these two doodads together. And then that's your that's how your shift linkage works. So like when you turn it, it goes to this notch or this notch. And on this side, when you turn it, it goes to this notch or this notch. So I'm going to get this cleaned up, and we're going to go over the transmission. I'm going to open it up. I was going to put some diesel in there, you know, but the thing's pretty clean inside. So I just got a can of brake cleaner, and I'm going to pop this back seal off, and maybe we'll set this thing up on end. I'm going to take this cover off. I want to clean this, make sure that oil hole is clear back there. I just want to take some brake cleaner, squirt the inside of it, and we'll let it run out the tail shaft. And then we'll clean this whole thing up. I don't know if I'm going to shoot a coat of paint on it or what, or just brush some paint on it or something. But just wanted to clean it up, excuse me, a little bit. Take this shift bracket off of it. And then we'll pop that seal in the back there. And that's really about all there is to it. I'm going to clean this input shaft up. It's a little rusty there, and these are a little rusty here. I want to make sure this slides into the pilot bushing easy, and that there's no rust on there tearing that bushing up. So alright, so let me get this back together. That cover plate. We'll come back over here and we'll take a look at this. Alright, so I'm doing a little bit of cleanup on this thing, and I got my other side plate ready. So we cleaned up the shaft, cleaned up the the tip that goes in the pilot bushing. Most people probably know this, but if you look at these transmissions, down here is an oil return hole. This thing will bolt on anyway, but you need to have that little oil return slot lined up with that oil return hole, and have the gasket also lined up with it. Because if you don't do that, all that oil will run out of the end of this thing and get all over your clutch and ruin it. Ask me how I know. Okay, so just doing a little cleanup on this thing. I don't know if I'm gonna paint this thing. I think I'm just gonna kind of give it a good cleaning, and we'll stick it in there tomorrow. You're not gonna see it anyway. So, but one thing I did find is that my speedometer drive, I need to take out of that transmission, but the bolt is broke off. So there's just a little tiny bit of bolt left on there. What I'm going to try to do is weld a nut to that and see if I can get it out that way. So let me drag mine, and I really don't want to drill it because I don't want to get junk down in the transmission. So let me drag my welder out over here and find a nut that'll go on there, and we'll try to weld it on there and see if that'll work. Now, this is cast, and that's a regular steel bolt, so it shouldn't really stick to this. We should be able to do that. All right, let me get my stuff out. We'll see if we can make this work. All right, so the idea is weld the nut on there, and it sticks to the whole bolt, and hopefully the heat from it will break the old threads loose in there. I'm not feeling real positive about it. There's not a whole lot left there to weld to, but we're going to try it. those things that'll either work or it won't. So might as well give it a shot. Got plenty of heat on it, that's for sure. So, let that cool off a minute. See what happens. Get it right. I'm gonna suck everything. So I'm not feeling real good about this. We're going to try it. I've had it work before and I've had it fail before. So say it's a 50-50 chance. A half inch. That's what we're doing. And by the way, my youngest son became a husband last night, and I gained a wonderful daughter-in-law. Well, that didn't work. So I'm very happy for them. I'm afraid there's just not enough there to well onto. Try it once more. So they're leaving for their honeymoon, and hopefully we'll have some more grandbabies down the road. I just love grandbabies, and they want to start trying right away. All right, last try. I said I don't think this is going to happen, but we're going to try it. Grab a crescent wrench. I didn't think so. Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna take these bolts out and bust this case apart because I don't want to get shavings down in there, and I've got a gasket for this, so it just answered my question for me. And not a big deal to pull those, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 5 bolts out, slide the case off, drill it, tap it, get shavings out, and slide the case back on. So, slight setback. So I will just shut the camera off. I'll do this, and then we'll pick it back up when I'm done. All right, so this came apart really easy. Happy to say this bearing is really nice. That front bearing was really nice. I don't see any crud in the transmission, which is good. Gears are good. So just got it over here. Just thought I'd show it before I did this. So we're gonna drill this guy out and retap that. And I'm gonna try to get these off. I'll tell you what, I had a Allen wrench on these things with a piece of pipe on the end of it and really leaning on it, and they did not want to break loose. But I'd like to get them off there since I'm not going to use that. So maybe if I put a little heat on it, it'll do something. But all right, well, let me get this tapped. We'll get the other speedo drive to fit in there. We're going to pop this seal out in the back. We're going to change it, and be ready to throw it back together. Okay, well, a few continued transmission woes. Not real bad. But anyway, what happened was, if you've seen in the last clip, this is the old transmission. I took the tail shaft off because I had to drill out this bolt, and I was worried that I would get shavings in the case. But what I didn't realize was this doesn't go all the way through the case. There's a casting behind it, so I could have drilled it with the tail shaft on. Which I should have done, because when I tried to put the tail shaft back on, the gears were binding up and I couldn't get it on. So I looked up a video on YouTube of how to do it. And it turns out I had to take some of the internal gears out and then take the main shaft and press it into the tail shaft and put that all together. So I thought, okay, no big deal. So I took it back apart and I tried to do that. And then I noticed all these little roller bearings laying in the bottom of the case. 2 different sizes, about 38 of them. And so I looked up in the old Chilton's manual and kind of saw where they go. And you're supposed to take some heavy grease and like hold them into place while you put this thing together. So I tried to do that, and a couple of them fell out. And I thought, you know what? I think we're just going to take this up to the transmission shop and say, put this back together, because I don't want to mess it up. And I was getting madder and madder at it. And it's like, okay, this is just going to be one of those jobs we just delegate to somebody else. So, no biggie. It's in the car. All the parts. Probably take them 20 minutes to slap the thing together for me. So, it's out of my hands, and I feel better about it. So in the meantime, my son came over today, and he did a little work for me on the car, which was awful nice of him. So there's the wheel wells back there. That top one, he ground it down both sides, got the rust off it, got the old clips off of it, got the old undercoating off of it. Spent a few hours working on that for me. He said he'd come back in a week or so and do the other one. So that was mighty nice of him. And while he did that, I got the column put in the car. What else did I do? I got that sensor on. I got that sensor on. Another sensor over there. We got the oil line on. Got the belt on. Something else I did. I can't remember what it was. But just kind of did, you know, a lot of this little knick-knack stuff. Got that out of the way. So that's cool. So that's where we are for today. Tomorrow night, I'm going to come home and not touch the car because I need to cut the grass. And we got to go on to dinner with our Bible study friends. And we're going to do that. So Tuesday night, I'll probably get back on this. Maybe training will be done by then. We'll pick it up and slap it in. If not, we'll do some other assembly things. I did order a rebuild kit for the throttle body, so we're gonna go through. I'll show you how to go through one of these. We're gonna clean the injectors on it and change all the gaskets on it and change the pressure regulator on it, kind of get it ready to go, get it bolted on. So I guess that's going to be it for today. Great sermon today. We were preaching out of the book of Ecclesiastes, our pastor was, and you know, just talking about the part I got from it was talking about how not to let our stuff, our material possessions, rule our lives, because you know, that stuff will never be enough. If I didn't have the Lord, no matter how many cars I owned or projects I did or money I had or stuff I had, it would never be enough. And there are so many people out there like that. But you know, that having that relationship with God, if I'm blessed enough that I've got a good enough job and we've got a little bit of money, I'm able to do some of this stuff and have fun with it on a budget. But I'm confident that if all this was gone, if I didn't have that, you know, if we just barely made enough money to get by, and like a lot of folks out there in this world, and you know, I wasn't able to do these things, that I would still have a lot of joy in my life, just because of my relationship with the Lord, and that my salvation, and that, you know, when I'm done on this earth, that I know where I'm going, and just being able to take the time to minister to others, and tell people what a good God we have, and how much He loves you and how much He cares for you. So enough of that rambling, I guess, and we'll do the actual message at the end of this video. But this is all we're going to do for today. So hope you have a blessed Sunday, and we'll be back to this in a couple of days and see what we do from there. All right, hey everybody. Well, my transmission guy just called me, and he's got my training back together, and only charged me $80 to stick it together, which I thought was pretty righteous. But I wanted to make a recommendation for another YouTube channel. There's a guy called Restoration Rescue. So make sure you look up his channel. He's got some good stuff on there, but he is restoring a early 60s Chevy truck. And I kind of wish I'd have seen his videos before I took transmission up there, because he was doing the exact same transmission and showed how to put that thing together. So I saw what I was doing wrong. But by that time, I'd already dropped it off up there, and so we just let him do it. But anyway, Restoration Rescue, look that YouTube site up. Got a bunch of good videos on there. Very descriptive of what he's doing. Good filming. Seems like a good dude. So check him out. Okay, so the other night I painted steering wheel, which I'd been meaning to get around to, and painted the steering wheel whatchamadoodle horn thing. And then this goes on there, so we're going to do that. So I think I'm going to put that together tonight and get it stuck on there. And I'm thinking I might, I don't know if I'm going to mess with this steering column and get that figured out, how we're going to join these together, or if I'm going to work on wiring. I think I might work on the dash wiring and just kind of start getting it straightened out. I'm still waiting on, I ordered these, some AN elbows. So I'm going to go from here to the fitting on the power steering pump, which I had to order an AN adapter for the back of that power steering pump. That should be here tomorrow. Excuse me. Then I can get my power steering hoses ran. So not a big deal on that. But I do want to start on this dash wiring, and what I want to do is, so this is, what's that in? That's not the one I want. Somewhere in here, I've got a chopped off original dash harness, and I've got the wiring diagram, so I kind of want to stretch it out. Is that it? I think that is it. So between this and that, which is another dash harness, and the and the whatchamacallit, the wiring diagram. I want to stretch all that out, cut that tape off, and just kind of make me a new harness. Now, I'm gonna have to use some of these connectors because, like, let's see which one. This is one. This one goes to the back of the ignition switch, I think. I'll have to check that. But what I'm going to kind of do is use some of these plugs and just, you know, run new wiring for it, and then we'll tie that into our new harness, or our newer harness. We'll tie our older harness into our newer harness, and we'll have a newer old harness, whatever. But it's going to work. Okay, so let me. I think I'll put that wheel on. We'll get that put together, see what that looks like, and then we'll clean up this mess here, and we'll start cutting that up, and we'll take a look at that. All right. All right, well, I was going to put the steering wheel on, but when I flipped it over, I realized I've missed a couple of little spots on the bottom. So I went and touched them up, and we're going to let that dry. So, but I did polish up the horn plate and put that back together. That looks pretty spiffy. So looking forward to putting that back together. Oh. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled this one dash harness out. Now this is the one that was in the car, not the one that was with the spare dash. So basically what you got to do, what I do, is kind of plug everything where it went, so you know where all that stuff is. Like, here's my ignition switch, here's my headlight switch. If you look on the back of this is the old speedometer. I dug it back out of the trash because I realized I needed it for this. But if you look on there, it says like dark blue, blue tan, black. So it tells you on this harness where to plug these into. So that's good. So we figure all that out. And then like this plug, I know this plug is for the switch on the column for the directional signals. So, and then you just kind of trace it back, you know, using your wiring diagram and using your looking on the fuse blocks. So, you know, just for example, I looked at this top one, says instrument lamp, so I looked at the green wires one side of the fuse, and if you take it over, it goes to the headlight switch. So this is the one that, you know, for your dimmer control on your instrument lights. And then if you go from the other side of the fuse, it goes to this gray wire, and then if you follow that over, it goes to this bundle of gray wires, and these are all soldered together in one, and these are all the various instrument lights. Like here's one, here's a gray one, here's a gray one. So that's just all the little light bulbs that go in there to light up the dash when you turn the switch on. You know, another one on here, like this purple wire, it's written on the back of the switch. It's just a starter solenoid. So if you follow this over, it goes up to here, and this was the plug for the remember, this car was an automatic, so this was for the column switch that you had to have it in park to complete the circuit to start. And then if you follow the other side of it out, it goes out here to the bulkhead connector, and then that went out to the starter. So I could wire this together, run that out to the starter, and it would work that way. Or I could use this for if I want to put in a clutch switch to where I gotta have the clutch pushed down before it'll start. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I don't know if there's a place on the clutch pedal to put that. Doesn't really matter to me if I got one. So, but anyway, that's pretty much what I'm going to do. And then, you know, there's some plugs in here that aren't hooked to anything, so we gotta figure out what those are. But they're all color coded, and this wiring harness has all the color codes on. So we'll just go through, we'll mark everything, Once we got everything marked, we'll figure out what we're going to use, what we're not going to use. We'll trim this old bulkhead connector off. We'll cut this old fuse block off, but we'll have everything labeled so that we know where all this stuff is going to go when we feed it with our other harness. So, I think that is all I'm going to do for tonight. Baseball game's coming on. I'm kind of tired, and my wife and I are taking a couple days off after the wedding, and we're just going to go have a nice weekend, and I'm going to get back on this Sunday when we get back, or Sunday after church. We're coming back Saturday night, I think, or Sunday. I don't remember, but we're going to get back on it. Anyway, I'm off next Monday, so I'll have a whole day on this. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video for here. I know it's a lot of little clips and pieces, but we'll go inside. We'll see what the Lord's got for us. We'll watch Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina break the record tonight for the battery mate record for most times a pitcher and a catcher on the same team have appeared together 325 times, which is pretty darn cool, and I want to watch it. So, my transmission's done. I'll be picking it up tomorrow. A guy called me, so I'll get it on the way home, and we'll get back on this on the next video. So that's going to be it for this. Let's go inside, see what the Lord's got for us tonight, and we'll call it. Hey all, thanks for hanging with me on this video. So got a lot of little stuff done, you know, not nothing big on this one, but we can see that we're moving forward and solving little problems as we go. So that's sometimes that's the way it goes. Sometimes you're biting off big hunks, and sometimes you're biting off little hunks, but it all matters, and it's all meaningful as far as getting the final product done. So hang with me. Anyway, so I was talking earlier in the video about what our pastor preached on Sunday, and he's preaching on the book of Ecclesiastes, which is not a book that you hear preached on very often. One of the reasons, because the first biggest part of it is pretty depressing. So when you start reading it, it's kind of talking about the futility of life, and it's essentially where it's going is the futility of life without God. And it's kind of like, what's the point in our life? So if we just, pull a few verses out of here, out of chapter 1, it says, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What advantage does man have in his work? What he does under the sun, a generation comes and a generation goes, but the earth remains forever. Also the sun rises and the sun sets, and hastening in its place, it rises there again, wind blowing towards the south, then turning to the north. It continues swirling around on its circular course. The wind returns, and all the rivers flow into the sea, yet the sea is not full. And if you go on in that chapter, and that part of the chapter is just kind of talking about, the cycle of things, and then that's kind of how I think we can get in our lives. We get up and we go to work, and we do our job, and we come home, we make dinner, and we clean up, and we watch a little TV or do whatever, and we go to bed, and then we get up, and then we go to work, and it can seem so repetitive and monotonous sometimes. And then as we look further in this chapter, he talks about the vanity of striving after wisdom, the vanity of striving after pleasure, the vanity of great accomplishments. I think that's a great one, especially on these videos. I really enjoy working on these old cars and the craftsmanship and watching other people do it, and it's fun, and it's a distraction. It's cool, and it's a good reason for people to get together and kind of show what they've done. But man, if that's all there was, that would be so depressing. And anything could happen that I'm in my 50s. What if I had a stroke and couldn't use one of my hands, or couldn't use both of my hands, or something would happen that I couldn't do this stuff anymore. I've God willing, got a lot of life left. What would what would I do if this was all there was, if this was the big focus? This is just something for fun, and I think it's something that the Lord has given me to be able to, as a platform, to put His message out there. And we just really need to find God's purpose in our lives, and focus on what He wants for us, and focus on what He has for us on His level of what He wants us to do. I look at this as just kind of a little reward thing that I get to do that's kind of fun. But my time with my church and with my Bible study group and with those friends, and being able to worship together, I mean, that's where the real joy in my life is. And if all this was gone, there's older gentlemen in my church who don't get around very well anymore. Our previous pastor is one of them. He still goes to our church, and physically the poor guy's in rough shape. But man, he is there every Sunday, and you can just see the joy on his face as he's sitting there worshiping, and that's where I want to be. I want to be like that. That doesn't matter what's going on with this stuff in my life. That God is the main thing. Like I said, this is just a distraction, and I hope it's a good reason to get some people on here and watching the first part and listening to this part. So. We need to know that faithfully following Jesus brings joy and fullness to life, and I can guarantee that 100%. Go back to my video from last Christmas and see where my life was and where it is today. And just got to understand what we do in this life matters. There's it's the people we affect, and the people we witness to. That's those are the great things. When I die, if people say he was a great mechanic, that's I guess that's good. But I want people to say that he was an obedient servant of Christ, and that by watching how Pat lived, that's what we saw. And and I hope you feel the same, that what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Okay, so that's going to be it for this video, and I want to thank you for tuning in again. Like I said, I'm going to take a few days off. Me and my wife are going on a little camping trip, maybe a little float trip or something, over the next couple of days, and just take a little break from all the wedding planning and all that stuff that was going on, and just have some fun, just me and her. So, and we'll get back on this when I get back this weekend. We'll spend the whole day on it Monday. We'll get another video going. So let's say a quick prayer. Father, we thank you for the lives you've given us, and we thank you for your fellowship with us, and that you do have a purpose for us. And we just ask that you would soften our hearts and let us know what that purpose is. Just call us to you and show us what that greater meaning is in our lives, and help us to obediently seek that out and follow it. We ask this in the name of your precious Son, Jesus. Amen. All right, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in a few days.